Hello and welcome, dear friends, dear members of The Well. This is another In Conversation, a weekly Instagram live series right here at The Well's Instagram channel. My name is Yaka, I'm currently in London, and let me tell you about what we have prepared for tonight. So tonight we're going to be talking to Lenna about cultural activism. She's from Maputo, Mozambique, but I think she's currently in Brazil. So before we invite her in, as always, I would like to warmly invite you to the Well's website, thewellvocal.com, where you can find a global map of over 1,000 members from over 50 countries who are singers, improvisers, dancers, movers, teachers, and much more. What binds them and binds us is a common interest in the voice and in vocal improvisation. And everyone is welcomed to join this conversation here on the website, across social media. We're always open to your suggestions, recommendations, and ideas for future projects. And now let's see if Lenna is ready to join us. If I'm not mistaken. Connected with personally, artistically, and has lived there for 7 years. Let's see if she's ready to join us. Hello!
Hello, hello.
Hello from London to Sao Paulo, right?
Yes, can you hear me
Yeah,
well?
I can. I can.
Okay,
I might be a little bit louder than you with these headphones, but we can hear you.
okay. Maybe I take this out. Can you still hear me now?
I can.
Okay, so I'm gonna use this one. Okay, so this is better. Yay!
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're having a busy day. I know this is a really busy period for you, lots of shows and collaborations and recordings. So maybe we
Yes.
can start from there. Tell us
Yeah.
where you are, how you are, and what you're up to.
Well, I'm in São Paulo right now. São Paulo, Brazil. In the middle of, I'm actually finalizing the year, doing the last gigs. Still have some releases to go. This year was the year of releases. Since I spent around 4 to 5 years not releasing anything new, so this year I decided that I was gonna release stuff. So it's been a great year around that, around good collaborations regarding this releases my second album, which I've been releasing in chapters, and then also collaborations with people. There's a very last collaboration that's coming out this year in December with Barbatukish. So I'm really excited with everything that's happening, and also teaching as well. It's good that in Brazil my work as a teacher has a lot of acceptance and interest, and also regarding the relationship with the African cosmology.
Mhm.
So yeah. So it's been very enriching.
Yeah, maybe tell us a bit more about your relationship with Brazil, where it started, why did you decide to move there, and how was that related with your artistic journey?
Yeah, sure. Actually, well, Mozambique being a Portuguese-speaking country, we've always had a relationship with Brazil in a way. Also because of communism, the political and social interests, as always. Brazil was a really big supporter of Mozambique during the dictatorship era here in Brazil, and then a lot of people ran away, even from Chile and stuff, ran away to from Cuba as well to Mozambique, running from dictatorship and stuff and wars that were happening there, and they all went to Mozambique. So all because of this um kind of like global socialism with the same kind of like leaderships and visions and stuff. So we started, Mozambique as a country started having a relationship with Brazil way back in the 60s, in the 60s, right during the the war for liberation from the Portuguese colony. And also after that, after the Portuguese liberation, also because of this relationship with Portugal, Brazil became part of a friend nation as a like a brother from the colonialism. So Brazilian culture, because it's in terms of like nationality, is older than Mozambique. Um, so Brazil has been always in Mozambique in a way. So when I was young, when we started having TV, when we started having access to internet and stuff, a lot of Brazilian music used to come over through our
Hmm.
screens and music and stuff. So I grew up listening to it. And then slowly that relationship started growing as I started doing music, as I started playing piano, singing and stuff. Brazilian music came together with all its complexity and diversity, and I actually fell in love with it at the time. And then I thought that Brazil would be a nice place to come and visit at some point in life. And so in around 2012, I had the chance to come here. I mean, this the way that happened is way more uh, adventures that I'm telling. But anyway, to make the story short, I ended up coming here just with a very open heart and mind, and big curiosity into what could come out of being in a Brazilian territory, and find out, what do these people listen, what do these people eat, what do these people see, do to get that kind of music out of them. So that's how I started my relationship with Brazil, by falling in love because of the media, all the way to actually picking up a frame of interest, and then following that, and then coming all the way after it and digging into it. I feel like when I came to São Paulo in 2012, I felt like a little seed that was coming into a fertile soil. I felt like I found everything that I was looking for here, either in terms of methodologies and pedagogic approaches, and also options on how to make your art be more, you know, flexible and amplified and
Hmm.
diverse, and so and that's why I fell in love with Brazil so much. Um, yeah, and I mean, and then that relationship has been growing and evolving and evolving. At some point, it started, it reached out the African heritage level, where it's a country that, because of the slave uh, memory, it's a country that really looks for references of people, artists who have a saying regarding the African heritage and memories, right? So my work ended up actually getting very recognized, mostly because of that, because I'm one of the few Portuguese speaking people in the scene of Brazil, and then that's bringing up that dialogue in a very contemporary way, and also bringing with improvisation, and like taking out of the stereotype of what African music should sound
Hmm.
like, so yeah, so that relationship has been maturing and evolving. I think it's at its highest peak at the moment, this
Hmm.
my relationship with Brazil and its music and culture.
Yes, beautiful. I want to
Yeah.
continue on this thread and say again what you said, which is what makes the ground fertile, right? And I
Mm-mm-mm.
also think that in your answer, there was already embedded our theme of cultural activism. You kind of
Mm-mm.
already described what that means to you, but I just want to go straight to that and ask you, yeah, what does cultural activism mean, feel to you, and how does it manifest itself in your work, in your artistry?
I'm crafting that up more and more as I go. Uh, but so far where I'm standing is mostly like how people perceive my work and how people find answers regarding answers that gives them visions of liberations of the colonialism through my work. So I think that is a kind of like activism that happens like naturally, right? Because of my research, because of the way I relate myself with my work, which is through allow my music to come from a place of intimacy, from a place of heritage, from a place of integrity, from a place of union, of body, memory, ancestry, soundscape. And then this ancestry is not only related to Mozambique, but it's also related to this cosmologic idea of being African, of being human. So there's this like kind of like universal but specific, this this dynamic of like specific and universal at the same time happening there, that I feel like everyone kind of like connects with it. So and then it gives them answers regarding the journeys to liberation and decolonialism. So at this point, I feel like my work as a cultural activist is still in a very natural way attached to my personal personal journey of finding my own liberation and my own decolonization. You know, I feel like now that I have more feedback about people. I think with Kumlangu, which is my second album, I consciously went after information. I consciously picked the content to create the song. I think it was the first album that I actually did that, because until now I was just intuitively doing my search, and then that would like spill over that kind of perception and feeling. But now with my second album, I actually went after the kind of sound textures. I went after the words, the sayings, the rhythms. I crafted, I crafted. That's why, I mean, Kumlango is not an album with new songs. I decided to do that. It's not an album with new songs. It's an album with songs that I've been performing for the past um 6 years maybe. Um, but that all of these songs, they come from that place where I decided that I was gonna actually start a hands on it specifically for this these elements of decolonization, these elements of liberation through sound and culture. So I started actually reading and mapping and studying and looking for answers and understanding the sounds and references that I have been using, and then like digging into them and trying to understand them, how they would go in my art, and then my creative process, it happens as I go. I'm not the kind of artist that I stopped to create. I have to do it. I have to perform. I have to execute it. I have to try. I have to. When I perform, it's a way of like getting feedback from the people, how that thing is going, and then when I feel like it's done, then that's when I record it. Specifically, Kumulangu is not an album of new songs, because they have been on the journey in the late in the past years, on that journey of me finding like hands-on into the material that I wanted to talk about, you know?
Yes.
So I think, yeah, so I think for now that's where I'm standing. But I feel like after Kumulangu, especially with the with the situation, political situation in Mozambique now, it's inviting me to look at this role of cultural activist in a deeper level, right? Where maybe more specific words, more like literal information could be delivered, not so abstract, not so conceptual, not so sensorial, because Mozambique is in a battlefield at the moment. So when you're in the battle, you need to be specific. You need to be as clear as possible. You cannot be ambiguous when you want to state a point of where you can pin where the injustice is happening. So I feel like this moment in Mozambique is really inviting me. I feel invited by the moment to look at this relationship from a deeper, from a higher level, right?
Yeah, and this theme also keeps coming up in many of these interviews, which is to improvise as if your life depends on it, from various cultural backgrounds. That seems to be a reality for a lot of artists that are deep into the practice. So I guess my next question really is about that, about you, voice, improvisation, because we have now entered this sphere of treating the voice and viewing it as a political subject, right? And I think improvisation can be a great way of bridging this sometimes perceived distance between the political, which might relate to social systems of oppression, and then something that might be universal human. Is there anything in that rings true about how voice or improvisation can bridge these two realities for you?
You know what? I was talking to my friend the other day. I was telling her, like, you know what? I don't see myself as an improviser, which is funny. I use improvisation as a tool. For me, I'm not comfortable to, like, me as an artist, Lenna, solo, go on stage and start improvising from scratch. I'm not comfortable with that. It's not something that I would easily do. I would have to prepare myself for that. But I do improvise, like, in other situations from scratch with friends and stuff. If I have other people with me, I'll do it. It's good. I'm okay. I go with it. It's something that I have the capacity of doing it. But for me, the relationship I have with improvisation is I use it as a tool, especially because of the kind of like language that the mainstream improvisation, como é que é? Estética, how to say estética in English?
The aesthetic.
It's the static that the mainstream improvisation in the community has in the moment. One of the things that I see myself also, like with body music and body percussion and also with improvisation, is to use this as a tool to actually serve a higher good, which is to say what it needs to be said. So I'm when I'm telling you this, there's an image that I have in my head as I'm studying the vocal music from Mozambique and like all the traditional music in general from specifically from Africa in general and the indigenous people from Brazil. I don't know much from the other Amazon area. But the little that I get in touch with, and even like also some European traditions, chants, they all come from improvisation, right? They all come from improvisation. Improvisation is the basic tool for everyone. But when they do improvisation, it comes from a place of the need to say something, not the need to find how can I say maybe not from the need to break a kind of static that has been imposed, because I feel like the contemporary improvisation, I think that mostly that's in our community, it comes from this place of like, oh, I want to get out of the standard way of making music and start doing something more
Mm-hmm.
open and free, la 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 la, you know. But the way that I try and have my relationship with improvisation, and I'm getting deeper and deeper and deeper into that, is by understanding its roots, its rooted intention. So like I can like I can hear, I hear when I'm studying my references, I hear like forms of doing it. Like they are like forms of songs. They have a shape, but they are all being sung in an improvised way. It's okay to have a shape. It's okay to have a song form. It's okay to have a typical song form from a specific group of people, ethnicity, but that is being sung in an improvising way. The words that are using, the sounds that are using, they are really mostly connected to the need to communicate, to the need of using that sound form that communicates with the people who is going to hear. And then I improvise as I have this intrinsic need to get my message out there. So I think uh, improvisation maybe could like could come in that place of like, especially as contemporary singers, to find that balance between recognizing the ancestry of improvising, and also allowing ourselves to to also detach from the traditional for not traditional ancestor, but like the, how to say, trivial,
Mm-hmm.
maybe trivial way of song making, music making. It's very subtle. It's very
Yeah,
subtle. I think it is one of those things that you only understand it when you hear it, when you feel it.
yeah,
So hard to theorize about it. When
yeah,
you just hear it, you're like, yeah, that's it.
yeah.
You know, you feel like, yeah,
It's
you know?
it's subtle, but also I think really important. Sometimes I feel that what you mentioned, for instance, is that need to communicate, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes you can tell where a group of people are singing just for themselves, and they're kind of
Mm-hmm.
more so in a closed, bubble or energetic
Mm-hmm.
circle, and they're maybe
Mm-hmm.
doing it just for fun or just for
Mm-hmm.
self-expression or
Mm-hmm.
just to learn a tool
Mm-hmm.
or a technique, which is nothing necessarily wrong with that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like it's not communicating outwards. It's staying in
Mm-hmm.
that space,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure everyone needs to do sometimes. But I think what you're saying is that we don't want that to always be the case.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always in that place, and that need to communicate within improvising is essential, right? And maybe
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
you feel about self-expression, but it feels like the way you described it sometimes could be seen as in opposition to this idea of freedom in improvisation or self-expression, which can also be in the end trivial,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what does that what does that really mean as a guide point or focus area for you as a singer? And it is extremely subtle.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost want to ask you again, because you started talking about this aesthetic of the current community, and it is a tricky thing to describe, but I almost want to ask again, what other things from your perspective there are that have this aesthetic that you might not relate with as an artist and the way you view improvisation?
Hmm. It's so tricky.
We went straight to the deepest possible parts of the conversation.
It's so tricky. Um, like for instance, but yeah, but I mean, I just want to pinpoint that, keep keep the information that in the background of everything that I say, there's always this eye for subjective. It's
Hmm.
always subjective. It's not like a fixed perception. It's always subjective. I can say now, but remember that it's not like a rule or anything. It's just because it can be different. Each moment can be different, and we can always get surprised. But um, like one thing that I kind of like try to run away from is the needs to have everything um how can I say this? Hmm, trying to elaborate. I think regarding harmony, regarding types of rhythms, like chaos, I particularly have a hard kind of time with that kind of static when it's really like chaotic and everything's just going all over the place. Um, but again, it's subjective. Can be moments of chaos where it's just the proper chaos, the round up chaos. I've seen it, I've done it, I've been there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been amazing. So it depends, but like it's not a place where I'm like comfortable to go. It's not a kind of static that I look for. Um, Also like the song form, like this thing of always trying to of bringing to the song like a bass drum melody harmony kind of pattern. It's a kind of thing that I try to use it, but in a different way, not in a trivial kind of way. Again, always subjective. What is trivial, what is not. um yeah, I don't know if that's what you wanted to wanted to hear from me, but yeah, that's kind of like what I try to think of. I
Mm-hmm. And which
cannot
are
think of
the
something.
improvisational settings or, I don't know, setups, forms, intentions that feel the most important or the right for you when you improvise, off stage by yourself, or when you lead, or when you improvise with others with voice?
I'd rather improvise with others. I
Mm-hmm.
like being led when I'm improvising. I really like that's my favorite place, being led. Being led, I like supporting. I like I like being led. I don't like improvising alone. I do it. I know how to do it. I mean, most of my compositions come from improvisation and stuff. Um, but I don't really enjoy much improvising alone. Um, and I have my kind of improvisation is like improvising on top of a structure. I don't like free improvisation
Mm-hmm.
so much. Although my songs come from improvisation, I get the song and then a song gets so into me that I end up improvising on top of the song. That's kind of like my
Yeah.
pattern, right? But I like improvising with two people, in duets. I really enjoy improvising in duets. Um, and then I have a hard time. I, I have a hard time improvising with a lot of people, like more than three people. Then I start to get more aware. My tendency in those situations is to just back off, just listen or be simple or support or give a a root to it. And then I'm the kind of improviser that likes to round up, you know,
Mm-hmm.
likes to be there on the corners. And then when I feel like it's safe, when I feel like it's stable, then I can go, you know, I can, and then I come back. Those are the kind of setups that I prefer. Most, like, I think my most preferred one would be the duets for
Yeah.
improvisation
Yeah.
with someone else. Yeah.
Hmm. And then
Yeah.
onwards to also your work in Mozambique, because we have talked before about setting up the community there, the views on improvisation. So I almost want to ask you about how does that relate to the Well as a global network? First of all, how is the community there? How does it relate to improvisation? Because it might have a totally different perspective from another country.
Yeah.
And also, what is the place of the well, in the community in Mozambique, from your perspective?
Um, well, when I decided to move back to Mozambique, now that is starting to change because of the political situation, um, I wanted this practice of improvisation, these practices, all of them, the bar
Hmm.
music, the música do everything, circle song, everything, to also be on the map in Mozambique, right? Because I mean, I don't know how much do people in the well community or the improvisation, the bigger community, global community of improvisation knows that there's very, 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 very few people doing this practice in in a, an, I mean in a exposed way in Africa in general. Because I mean, originally, like I've said, improvisation is something that everyone does, right? I have this thing as a premise. Everyone does it, and then in Africa, in Mozambique specifically, like from my experience conducting Batu Corpo, conducting the circles that I've done, Quimba and everything, it's impressive how those people are improvisers.
Hmm.
Like even now with the political situation, I am impressed with how people are using chant, singing, and improvisation to put the information out there. Exactly what I was saying. Intrinsic need to get it out there. Get it out there. People are creating lyrics. People are putting out there, using this voice to put it out there. Mozambicans, I mean, African people, I think in general, they're great improvisers. So initially, my idea was to give vision to that in a way, because I mean, I am a person who is doing this practice in a mainstream situation, right? As you know, performing and but there's a whole community based in that. There's a whole community that is doing that. So my intention was to not only make it accessible, like the tools, the learning tools that can come out of it, the growing tools and learning tools that can come out of this practice, but also because of we have a lot of young people who can grow with these practices when we use the teachings of improvisation in a in a context of pedagogic pedagogical perspective.
Hmm.
There are a lot of young people who have this talent of improvisation, but that they just don't find that it's okay to do it. The improvisation, the pedagogical approach of improvisation can also help them find that in native improvisation uh, capacity that they have. So it goes both ways,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So as a educator, as an art educator, that was my intention. Still is now a bit different. I'm gonna have to kill a mosquito here, guys. Sorry. Um, until the country is in a better political state situation. Sorry, guys, I have to kill a mosquito. Otherwise, it's gonna
Necessities.
give me a nightmare at night. Oh my God, I missed it. Anyway, so yeah, so now let's see how the political situation is gonna go on. But yeah, that's how I see. And then the well, I feel like the well could take a part in that scenario as being I think as always, like I mean, it's very simple as being available to those exchanges, to see those talents, to um recognize those talents. It's hard to actually say anything about it now, but I mean, if there was no political crisis at the moment, that's how I would imagine the well being
Mm-hmm.
part of it. I would be the next project was to keep going with Batu Corpu, was to have a platform where I would have like invite singers to to sing and improvise and give them the space to be creative. I was planning. I remember last time we spoke, I think in June maybe. Me and Luana, we were closing an immersion for singing. I wanted to do a vocal retreat back in Mozambique. We never had a body music retreat in Mozambique, an improvisation kind of retreat in Mozambique. So my plan is to actually do that, bring it out there, um, have the community going there, present to the community other ways of making this game. And then I think the best way that I think that the well could have a role as well would be as how do you say, disseminator, you know,
Yeah.
be available to join and to expand, and there's some humbleness into also recognizing that kind of approach as well
Mm-hmm.
as also part of the ways of doing it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that also reminded me of Anita Dawn, also one of the founding members from Zat Mama, who also was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
saying in Congo, right, where her family is from, they almost don't talk about improvisation, or they never talked about improvisation, because improvisation is the same as singing. Improvisation happens in singing and it's just singing. So I just think it's important to then say that there's a lot more space for the exchange between cultures that have that view, where improvisation is a little bit more still present in day-to-day life, and others, like it might be here, where I'm in Western Europe, for instance, where that is not the case anymore. So how we can
Mm-hmm.
have this conversation more, so that it doesn't appear, or actually from this side, we don't think we're discovering something for the first time when
Mm-hmm.
we stand in a circle and improvise, as if it's a new activity, which of course it is not. But how we can go beyond just recognizing that it's not that it is not new, that there are many different ways of doing it, but that we enter into this space with awareness and exchange, with others, where culturally that practice is still alive within communities, which
Yep.
includes, as you say, majority of or a lot of African countries, indigenous communities, and so on. And what does it actually mean to be in conversation when it comes
Yeah.
to improvisation? So
Yeah.
those are, I think, one of our next steps
Yeah.
that
For sure.
we can all take.
For sure. And yeah, and again, I feel like this work in Mozambique, and I feel can also can definitely be a way to do that. I feel like the if everything goes well, I think that this work in Mozambique can definitely be a way to be that, and also to give those people back home the opportunity to be recognized, to be seen, validated. Not that we need uh, Western validation in order to believe in our work,
Mm-hmm.
but and that's exactly, I feel like, what my role could have, like um, as an international artist as well, of course, being home. But it's always nice to have other people doing the same things that we're doing, similar things that we're doing. We feel validated when we see ourselves as equals as others, right, in the same place. So, and then that comes from a place of humbleness from both sides, right? Um,
From
to
all the sides.
recognize.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Lena, I want to thank you so much for having this conversation. It's only the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
also would want to invite everyone to go to your Instagram, to go and check your new album, and actually to go through all of the albums, and actually to find out for themselves, where they hear the improvisation
Yeah,
behind the songs, in the songs, around the songs.
yeah.
Thank you so much for all of your work, and hope to
Thank you.
sing with you in person very, very soon. And
Yes,
all the best
For
to
sure.
Sao Paulo
Thank you.
and have a great rest of
Thank
your
you,
day.
Yaka. Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.